Where we left off our story, Frieza has been killed and Bardock was crowned King of the Saiyans after King Vegeta sought to make his own empire. Then, with Gine by his side, the newly crowned Saiyan King went to Earth to get his son, only to return to Planet Vegeta in order to take on Prince Vegeta, who sought to overthrow Bardock and his new vision for the Saiyans. While Vegeta was a formidable opponent, a senzu bean from Grandpa Gohan helped close the gap between the two and widen it in Bardock's favor. Now, one final threat seems to loom over the Super Saiyan's head before he and his family can truly be safe. Deep in space, on a ship that's similar to Frieza's, rests the retired Emperor of the Universe, King Cold. Now, as many of you have pointed out, King Cold is strong. Very, very strong. While still weaker than Frieza's final form, we have no reason to believe he's weaker than Frieza's first form, especially considering how much his power frightens everyone on Earth in the original version of events, also making them think there are two Friezas. But more importantly than his power is his own superstitious nature. King Cold tries to manipulate and explain what he considers unexplainable through superstitious belief, like the idea that Trunks was only powerful because of his sword since he couldn't be a Super Saiyan in Cold's eyes. This superstitious nature would extend to the legend of the Super Saiyan as well, believing it to truly be unbeatable, especially after hearing it killed Frieza and the Saiyan Prince who trained specifically to stop it. With this on his mind, Cold wants nothing more than revenge and his empire back under his heel. However, the Super Saiyan isn't his only issue. The power of the Super Saiyan caused a shift in Saiyan mentality, and without a suitable replacement for the Saiyan King, the warrior race is likely to rebel, costing Cold over half of his army. He'd have to find someone willing to work for him and take over the Saiyan race, a person willing to fight Bardock, strong enough to beat him and able to be ruled over. Luckily for Cold, an answer to his prayers would be brought to his doorstep. King Cold had sent all his men out hunting for one very solution, and a single lead pointed them to their only option. A Saiyan strong enough to take over the Saiyan race, but naive enough to be manipulated. Broly. With Paragus lusting for revenge and Broly being reserved and generally lacking autonomy, they make for the perfect pair to be manipulated and controlled. So, preparations are made to head to Planet Vampa, then Planet Vegeta. A careful lie about who Bardock is, a secret relative of King Vegeta III, will do perfectly to have Paragus and by extension Broly on his side. The journey to Vampa and then back to Planet Vegeta would take around a year, giving Bardock a chance to train in the facilities made by Vegeta. So, over the course of the year, Bardock exploits the Zenkai boosts of his race and their genetic disposition to adapt to different gravity until they reach their limits. From there, he realizes that focusing on the Super Saiyan transformation will be the next step to evolving his abilities even further. However, achieving something like Super Saiyan 2 or 3 will be outside his reach, relegating him to Super Saiyan Grade 4 by the time his training is finished. Now, I'm not saying he's Cell Saga tier after being at a power level of 5 million only a year prior, simply that he has the right mentality for long-term training, something else he picked up from Grandpa Gohan in his communications with Earth over the last year. Speaking of Earth, Goku did stay long enough to compete in the Tenkaichi Budokai, and with the help of Gine, everyone from the Turtle School is far stronger from training with her. However, the final battle isn't between Goku and Jackie Chun, it's between Goku and his mother, Gine. Notably, Gine instills the same lesson in Goku that Roshi sought to teach all of his students. There's always someone stronger. So she beats Goku and becomes the world martial arts champion. After losing to his mother, Goku says he'll have to train a lot more to be able to keep up with her, but she tells him she's not the end goal. Even among the Saiyans, she's nowhere near the strongest, and beyond their people, stronger people may exist within the vastness of the universe. This excites Goku for the future of his potential and the foes who wait for him in the vastness of space. As Goku looks up to the stars, deep in space, the clash of the strongest Saiyans is about to happen. Broly and Bardock are on a collision course with each other. After his daily training, Bardock finds himself spending time with the prisoners from the failed insurrection. He has no desire to kill them, and hopes for a future where the Saiyans are something more. A future where their children are children and not soldiers. A future they won't reach if they continue to kill their own. Today's visit had to be cut short as a communication on Bardock's scouter warns of an approaching ship. The ship of King Cold. Bardock knew this day would come, and all he can hope is that his training has been enough. When King Cold exits his ship, he's surrounded by Saiyan warriors, with Bardock in the center, ready to face him. But Cold isn't alone, followed by the manipulated Paragus and Broly, who are the real adversaries for Bardock to face down. Now, Bardock is far more conflicted. His message has been one against killing his fellow Saiyans. But if they stand with King Cold, should they be given such mercy? All of the insurrectionists were inherently fighting for King Cold, and he let them live. So it would be unfair to treat these two any differently. Before Bardock can even say a word to them, Paragus orders Broly to attack, and Bardock quickly turns Super Saiyan in response. Now, before you start raging about the power difference, this Broly is much younger than the one in Dragon Ball Super Broly. That means he hasn't been training for over 40 years on Vampa that he did originally. I'm not saying he's weak, but he's just not as strong. Bardock is clearly on the back foot. In the midst of combat, he's trying to talk to Broly, but his words are falling on deaf ears. Broly is merely an instrument of his father, so any enemy of his father is an enemy of his. Paragus laughs and taunts Bardock, telling him that his royal blood will pay for what his brother has done. Bardock's eyes widen. He uses all his power to knock Broly away and tells Paragus that he doesn't have a brother. Broly is ready to strike again, but Paragus tells him to hold back. He tells Bardock to stop lying for no reason. He already knows that he's the brother of King Vegeta III. Before he lets Broly kill the new king, he wants to hear Bardock admit it himself. Bardock repeats he has no brother, especially not the king who tried to stop him from seeing his son again. And that resonates with Paragus. King Vegeta tried to keep Paragus away from Broly as well. If Bardock was also a victim of King Vegeta's selfishness and ego, then that means their true enemy is... Before the thought can finish, Paragus is killed by King Cold, who has no time for more Saiyan adversaries. This was a mistake, though, as Broly's body begins to enlarge in a rage, first transforming into his Ikari form and then into Super Saiyan as well. In a blind rage, Broly begins to dismantle King Cold with ease. Vengeance for his father wouldn't be enough to soothe his rage and sorrow, though, so even after King Cold is killed, Broly's rampage doesn't stop. Bardock jumps in front of Broly before he can attack the other Saiyans and tells him to calm down, but he can't and begins to attack Bardock as well. Bardock starts to have trouble breathing, but manages to say, with the very last of his breath, that there's a way for Paragus to be revived. If Broly kills him now, that'll never happen. This is finally enough to calm Broly down, who collapses from the sudden power expenditure. Bardock has his medics preserve Paragus' body and put Broly into a healing tank for the minimal injuries he's sustained. Bardock sends a transmission to Gine on Earth with his scouter and tells her to collect the Dragon Balls that she told him about. They are one wish away from being able to be together again. The gathering of the Dragon Balls requires the defeat of the Red Ribbon Army, but this is a simple task for Goku and Gine, who are able to revive Paragus with one simple wish and are far more thorough than Goku was when he destroyed the army originally. No Dr. Gero escape happens this time thanks to this mother and son duo. On Planet Vegeta, the Saiyan medics confirm Paragus' revival just as Bardock had predicted. Once he's up, he takes Broly to him and both of them are extremely grateful, though Broly isn't very good at saying it. Bardock says this is the future he envisions for the Saiyans, forgiveness and understanding, where parents can see their children grow up instead of having them sent off-world. Paragus' eyes begin to gloss over, but the older Saiyan doesn't allow himself to cry. This is the future the Saiyans should strive towards, a future that would allow his son to be his son, instead of just a weapon for revenge. Since Bardock can see that his words have reached Paragus, there's one final thing he wants Paragus to see, but he'd prefer if they go alone. Broly wants to follow, but Paragus tells him it's fine, and the two leave. Bardock takes Paragus to the prison where the Saiyan insurrectionists have been restrained. In the furthest and most isolated cell is Vegeta, the son of the man who exiled Broly, and Paragus by extension. They don't enter the cell and merely observe him through one-way glass. Bardock asks what Paragus thinks about this. Can his hatred for the former king be ignored when looking at his son? Can Paragus truly understand what Bardock's plans for forgiveness actually entails? Paragus is clenching his fist and struggles to keep himself composed, but ultimately, he thinks of another life he may have had with Broly if Bardock were king and not Vegeta. If Bardock's ways were adopted before Broly was outcast. With an exhausted exhale, Paragus says he can forgive him should he wish to accept it. This is all Bardock needed to hear. He asks Paragus if he'd be willing to take over as King of the Saiyans. Paragus is shocked by the offer, but Bardock says it's not such a simple switch. While he has faith in Paragus after this, he can't risk him reverting to the old ways of the Saiyans, and so if Paragus agrees to become king, then Broly will come to Earth with Bardock. Paragus is slightly irritated by the proposition since his entire crusade against the royal family started because his son was taken away from him. Bardock assures him that this isn't even remotely exile. The planet that Bardock is going to is weak, but full of spirit. The emotions the Saiyans lacked for so long are in abundance there. There's even new things to learn from the less technologically advanced world. Then Bardock smiles and says that his son really likes Earth, so he's sure Broly will too. That was all Paragus needed to hear. He lifts his head up high and accepts Bardock's offer, though he tells the Super Saiyan that regardless of what title he's granted, the Saiyans will always look to Bardock as their true king. Bardock chuckles and says that's probably for the best. The legend of the Super Saiyan will hopefully keep this world peaceful. So Bardock returns to Earth where he raises Goku and helps to protect that world. Since Goku was on Earth for the hunt for the Dragon Balls, he even still marries Chi-Chi. Piccolo Jr. ends up getting sealed in this version, and after that, with no Saiyans to invade or Frieza to learn of the Dragon Balls, and no Gero who escaped and seeks revenge, this means it's a peaceful life. Even if Babidi does arrive to revive Majin Buu, the Saiyan family alongside Broly are more than enough to handle that resurrection before it can even begin. Until one day, a certain god of destruction awakens and makes his way to Earth, where there are multiple Super Saiyans currently. When Bardock sees Beerus, he recognizes him from what his advisors told him on Planet Vegeta, the being that even Frieza feared. He bows to the god, who asks Bardock how he knows who the god of destruction is. Only the king and Frieza's clan know of him. Bardock tells him that he was once the king of Planet Vegeta and apologizes for any transgressions caused by the last generation of Saiyans. They've reformed and changed their ways. Beerus asks Whis if that's true, and Whis looks at his staff. In it, Whis sees an older Saiyan sitting on the throne who's not related to the Vegeta royal bloodline. He sees they've not conquered any worlds, and in fact have used their power to make allies in the universe, helping where they can, in return getting supplies. If Whis looks far enough back in time, he can see it was in fact Bardock that began this new lifestyle for the Saiyans. Beerus never thought he'd see the day. Having Planet Vegeta destroyed was something he agreed with after all, even if Frieza had his own motives for it as well. This makes Beerus ask Bardock if his 39-year-long nap was to wait for him. Is he the Super Saiyan God? Eventually, they all reach the conclusion of using the Dragon Balls that are conveniently on the ship that is hosting Bulma's birthday party. They learn of the ritual, and everyone seems to agree that Bardock should become the Super Saiyan God. But he declines. If Beerus was supposed to wait 39 years for this great rival, then it wasn't ever about Bardock. It was about Bardock's son. So Goku becomes the Super Saiyan God and gives Beerus the fight he was craving. Bardock looks to the sky with Gine and is proud of the world they were able to make together. His grandchildren and Broly join him in watching Goku His only regret is that Raditz didn't live to make it here. Even the Dragon Balls would be too late to revive him. A tear rolls down Bardock's face before he looks at Goten and Gohan and smiles. They will never experience what the Saiyans were, what they did. His future worked, and there's no point in worrying about the past. They move forward together, united against anything that would stand against them. The next few arcs are made ridiculously easy due to Broly being around and no future timeline, so don't worry about any of that. This thematic ending is the best place to end our story, as it focuses on Bardock, not Goku and the others. And I hope you enjoyed the ride. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and thank you so very much for watching.